What's going on, everybody? This is episode 6 of 10's Hip Hop Unfiltered. I'm your nearest and dearest host, Zoe, and of course, I got the homies with me as always, Kennawayne. Got my boy Henny the God, and then we have our special guest, the Sphinx, today, man. How y'all feeling out there, fellas?
We good, surviving.
Chilling.
I mean, the best you can be.
Yeah, man, this has been a hell of a week, huh? A lot of emotions out there, tiring, but this was one point that I was kind of looking forward to, just to kind of get away from some of the bullshit, man, because we all need that outlet, you know, and whether it be like a podcast, reading a book, something, and some of y'all out there do need to read books, educate yourselves.
Yes,
lots of them.
A lot of ignorance going on. A lot of ignorance going on out there, man. Before we get started, as we want to kind of do with all of our guests, just tell us a little bit about yourself, Sphinx, and just some of your interests, music, what you like, man. Just let the people get to know you a little bit.
Well, I go by the Sphinx, but my government name is Johnny Rivers, Johnny Major Rivers III. For those of you that want to look me up online, you know what I'm saying? I be fooling them real quick with my resume, bro. They be surprised as fuck when I show up. I'm a poet. I'm a father. I'm biracial. I'm half black, half Mexican. I have 2 children that are biracial as well. And I'm just out here writing. I do a lot of performance poetry, spoken word poetry. I'm on a team out here in San Antonio called the 210 Gs. And we were supposed to go compete at Southern Fried, which is a big poetry event. But they canceled it because, the Rona be fucking everything up this year.
Of course.
And everything. But that was a really cool squad. It has a couple of great poets. The poet laureate for San Antonio, Vocab, she's incredible. And it's been really cool. It's been a great journey just performing. Actually, whenever I started hanging out with Curtis initially, we opened our own open mic for poetry and music at his he was working as a barista, bro. Can you believe this motherfucker was making frappuccinos and shit?
Hey, whipping them hoes in the back.
Whipped cream, you know what I'm saying? Hooking that brother up with
hey,
all
bro.
Too.
Hey, I had them specials. I had the birthday cake one. I had the cookies and cream. That shit wasn't even in the menu.
Yeah, he was over there making all kinds of shit. Anyway, so yeah, I'm originally from El Paso, Texas. I moved around a lot. I lived in California. I lived in Arizona. Most recently, I moved to San Antonio from Dallas. I was living in the mid-cities for a minute. So, yeah, my music interests, they're very wide. I love hip-hop. I think my soul is probably hip-hop. I grew up listening to hip-hop with my dad, and then that branched off. My mother listened to, 80s new wave music. So just a mixture of that growing up. I was exposed to a lot. And now I listen to a lot of, lo-fi, honestly, just trying to, not drown my brain out with stuff that's going on. I whenever I'm writing, I'm listening to lo-fi. Curtis was somebody that whenever we would write together, we would write poetry together, he would sit on one side of the room and he'd be blasting some sort of hip hop, hardcore gangster shit, trying to get his poems out.
We know Curtis with the trap, man.
And I'll be over there listening to something chill and calm. Some of my favorite artists were Bad Bunny. I really got back into reggaeton this last 3 years probably. I really started investing more into it. I kind of listened to a little bit in high school, and as my Spanish got better, my understanding of the music got better, and I really appreciated what it's doing for the culture right now. My partner is from Puerto Rico, so he kind of inundated me with new artists from Puerto Rico that are really good, and he kind of put me in the right direction as far as reggaeton is going. So, I think Childish Gambino is probably one of my favorite artists as far as hip hop, funk, that area. I've been a Gambino fan since Freaks and Geeks, Cul-de-sac, all those mixtapes that he came out with before he ever blew up and did This Is America. So I'm a big Gambino fan. Other than that, man, I listen to whatever you guys put in front of me. I really like to analyze lyrics. Since I'm a writer, I'm an English major, I really like to break down music and see what people are talking about and to kind of get their perspective from it. So I'm really just honored to be on the show. I really appreciate y'all.
Well,
the nigga did our fucking logo. So
yes,
y'all need a logo? Hit that nigga up.
Logo man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's me.
It sounds like you'll fit in just well. With everybody here, man. We're really excited to have you. So on the topic of poetry, man, let's get straight to it into some great hip hop. as we always do at this time, our look back, man. Album of choice today is going to be T.I.'s Paper Trail. That's his 2008 album. I always say that was kind of the apex of his career. I personally don't know that he had a better album before or after this. Hard to believe it's 12 years since that's passed now, man, or about 12 years. Great album, so many features, star-studded. We had the Rihanna and so many others. And this was really an album that I feel like, touched the culture quite a bit. Kennawayne, man, let's start with you, bro. What do you think about, T.I. and Paper Trail's lasting legacy, 12 years later, and how's it stood the test of time?
Man, this album came out when we were in college, so in 08-ish. And
old ass nigga.
I'm younger than that. Yeah, I was in high school.
Well, for me, I mean, I agree with Zoe, man. I felt like this was his best album. Some people disagree. He had so many features on here, but it wasn't like they were just features. They were hits, man. Started Ready for Whatever. That was kind of the trap song that just kind of set the tone. Even the intro, 56 bars. Live Your Life with Rihanna. Yeah, that was a hit. Whatever You Like was a whole ass mood.
Come on now. That was
whole ass mood. Every nigga was talking to females. You can have whatever you like.
That was the Sugar Daddy song.
And niggas wasn't giving them whatever they like. Okay.
No.
Maybe
it was just words.
Swagger Like Us was probably one of the biggest hits that year.
Yeah,
if not the biggest hit. And I enjoyed it because I think that was the first song he kind of took a sound from like almost like that Middle Eastern sound and brought it over here. And then he still had hit like niggas like Kanye and fucking Lil Wayne on that hoe.
Yeah.
Man, this album, I mean, I won't say I still play the album, but there are songs I go back and I listen to once in a while, especially Swagger Like Us and Whatever You Like. I do think this album kind of is frozen in its time frame where it was. Like, I won't say necessarily if you took this same album and put it out today, it would be a hit. But where it was in the time, I think it was one of the best albums that year. I think it's his best album in my opinion. I know there's a few others I really do enjoy of him. But this album had replay value from start to finish. So I still fuck with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think you made, some good points. The features were all very well used. It's like, it's one thing to just have a bunch of features, but it's another thing to just put them to their proper use. He had Justin Timberlake on Dead and Gone.
Oh, Dead and Gone, yeah.
It feels like you can say every single that was released was a huge song. And I think one of the things also that kind of comes to mind with that time frame is when you did have the album proper rollout where you got those singles each being worked on their own, whereas now you kind of have that rush tendency where it's just all out. That was when we really got to gel with those singles. Radio was still popping, so I think that was another major kind of catalyst for this album's success. Sure. Sphinx, man, let us know how you feel about that album.
No. I was in college. Unfortunately, I'm one of them old motherfuckers too. I was a freshman though that year. Curtis was probably a sophomore, but he repeated several grades several times.
Might have been.
But I think that it's definitely an iconic album. I think that T.I. This was at a point in T.I.'s career where he was still trying to relate to his past and bring into focus his future and try to, what's the word I use? Explain and reconcile those 2 points that he's, the past that he's, the reason that he got arrested and the reason that he had to carry a gun on him. And he wants to explain to those people and in that culture where he is now and why the things happened the way they did. So I think that it's a great story telling album from beginning to end. He talks a lot about his personal life. He talks a lot about some of the struggles that he's been up against. And in the mix of that, you have Ludacris, you have Usher, you have Rihanna, you have Kanye West, you have all these incredible artists that are helping him tell the story instead of telling it for him. And like you pointed out, they were utilized really, really well. It wasn't just something like, oh man, he just got a whole bunch of people to come on his album and just like name drop them. Like they really like contributed really good parts and pieces. So he really did a great job, I think, of putting it together. Obviously, I think on this album, I liked a lot more songs than I would have skipped. And that's for me is like the way I gauge how good an album is for me personally. How many times I'm gonna skip this song that comes right after this one? You know what I mean? Like you have like bangers on there, ready for whatever I wasn't expecting to like as much, but I did. I don't think I really listened to it when the album came out, but listening to it now and understanding the progression that this artist has made, I really appreciate it more now. And I think that goes for a lot of the other songs that weren't necessarily bangers on the radio. I kind of listened to them and I was like, okay, well, damn, he was really saying something on this. I mean, T.I. is somebody that has been viewed in so many different lights. You know, he initially coming up, you know, Rubber Band Man, you know what I'm saying? He was real gangster, talking about underage drinking and shit like that. And he was just really urban. And then he kind of transitioned into this expeditious type dude, you know what I'm saying? Where he just like started going through one of the motherfucking thesaurus and just kind of like
nigga sound like Stephen A. This is egregious.
It's a peculiar smell in the room right now.
I'm telling you, dog, every time I hear the word expeditiously, I think of fucking T.I., dog.
I think everybody does.
Expeditiously, you know what I'm saying? So like, but I feel like he's different. He's a different person than who he was. And now I do see him he really does get back to his community. I mean, he had that whole hip hop show where he was really trying to put on people, and I think he gave great criticism and great feedback on that show. So I feel like to bring it to a wrap, at least from my perspective, I think the album is iconic. I think that it probably is one of his greatest albums and greatest works. I think you can tell how much effort he put into it. And like you said, the way that it was released, the way that people were introduced to it, it really helped people connect with the important songs on this album. As far as replayability, of course, Swaggle, I guess, is one of my favorite songs of all time. I get crunk to that motherfucker every time it comes on. So that's something that I think there's a lot of songs on here that I'm definitely going to jam to if I hear them come up on my mix. So yeah, I'd give it a 5 from me, probably. 5 out of 5.
Damn.
Okay, perfect. Damn near perfect album. No, I definitely agree. Now, one just follow up with that. Do you feel like when you hear those songs now, do you feel in this moment, or do you feel kind of a sense of nostalgia where it kind of captured that moment?
That's a great question, bro. And I really feel like I think some of the most this thing that's special about music, at least to me, is the nostalgic piece to it. It really has the ability to take you back to when you were originally listening to it and the vibe that you were feeling. And I think that has a really big impact on how much you appreciate certain songs or certain music. And it definitely takes you back, man. We were going to the bar, going to the club, turning up, you know, living life, just barely getting to college, 21, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a really good time for me in my life that I can recall. And those songs definitely remind me of those. Again, if they were to come out now, would I have the same connection? I can't really say that, to be honest.
Right.
But for what they, you know, just the quality of the songs, the content, and when they came out, I would say I still resonate with them quite a bit.
Absolutely. No, great points, man. Great points made. Henny, I ain't gonna hold you, man. I know you got something to say about this album, man. You know, we jammed a lot of that together back in the high school day, man. You know.
Man, I'm mad.
We're finishing up.
Put on the cap right now. Lean that whole sideways for my nigga T.I. on that one. Man, I don't know how many times we didn't listen to Illy, like that shit. Yeah. The beat on that was like stupid. And then of course Luda on Top of the World, our favorite artist on that hoe. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to bring up the song Porn Star. That was another sleeper on that bitch. You know, got a little female, you know, just put that hoe on in a ride.
A little something for the ladies.
You know,
he tried his hand in that.
You know, Dead and Gone with Timberlake, that shit flames as fuck. It was us going into our senior year too when this bitch came out.
Yeah, man.
So
football season.
We had some nice bomb get crunk to, you know, in the weight room, you know, just listening to this whole. Take a little drink break on that, because of course, swagger like us everybody fuck with that. I mean, I know everybody brought it up, but that's just.
And they even performed that at the Grammys
like,
too, man. They shut the Grammys down with that.
That shit's ridiculous.
Yeah. From the production to the bars, that shit was
like
amazing.
Top to bottom. Like me re-listening to this, it was like a perfect time. Like with all the shit going on, like this was like a good vibe ass album, like put all together. So I actually enjoyed like going back and listening to this shit. Like I still fuck with it to this day. So for me, it still has a lot of replay value. Like a couple of songs gonna be in my playlist now since I went back and re-listened to it. But I give it a solid 9 as far as the overall album. And I'd probably say this is his best album. Only one that'll kind of be close to it. I'm not gonna say Urban Legend. I think King gave us like a preview.
I was gonna say King.
King gave us a preview of like what he can do, and then he came out with this one and showed us what he found basically.
The one thing I will say, going back on this album, reminded me how big B.O.B. was back in that time.
Ooh, man, B.O.B. had a moment,
and just disappeared.
It was that video he did with Chris Brown, nigga.
I think the B.O.B. thing points back to the fact that how he came into the game. B.O.B. came in with huge crossover hits, which now, I mean, we don't really have to sectionalize mainstream crossover hits now because hip-hop is the biggest genre in the world. But back then, I mean, you kind of had to come to the white folks with, you know, the angelic white woman features or, you know, a Bruno Mars type feature. And I think because Bruno Mars was largely introduced to most people like that, he didn't really have that solid base underneath him, where then once those hits kind of dried up, who do you fall back on? You know what I mean? Where T.I., he already established himself in the game with his earlier albums. In my opinion, this was his magnum opus, man. This was an album that, you know, was the height of his career for many reasons. I think that it obviously that you could tell from the sound of the album, it was just bigger sounding. There was more money poured into the production. So, you know, obviously they were gearing up for a huge release post jail stint. And then you just, you know, also after this album, he started getting into a lot of other things, TV, and, you know, his focus wasn't mainly on the music. So, you know, he hasn't had another album anywhere, in my opinion, near as good as this. I think this is a classic. It's a masterpiece album to me in lyricism, wordplay, and just rapping. Like, you know, he's not a master lyricist in the sense that he's going to wow you like Lil Wayne or Eminem or somebody like that. But the way he structures his bars, the emphasis in which he says shit with, and just the structuring and sequencing of the album, I think was good too. And this is kind of a thing where I feel like these albums that we review and we look back a lot of times are some of the last albums where it seems like people really cared about every step of the process with the album, you know, the sequencing, you know, each song, the titles, and it all had its proper place where you don't have to have a concept album for it to be cohesive and still tell a story, you know?
I think it also went along with his album cover, like the creativity, just in depth. If you look at all his other albums, he was just up there like a street nigga with his cap or any of that. But this one, just the album cover, kind of gave you a preview of the creativity that was going to be put into this album. Which I really enjoyed that too.
Right, and that was when people were buying albums.
T.I. for giving us
Facts.
You know, that was when we were buying albums though. So when you think about if I listen to an album, and you know, now you can go off a lot of hype because it's all streamed. Somebody comes out of jail, we're gonna listen. Back then, bro, we're in high school. If I tell Kenny, man, the shit's kind of whack, dog, like that might be it. He might not go buy the bitch.
I mean, not even buy it, bro. At that time, you had to download shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to take a fucking space on my hard drive with that motherfucker.
And we ain't had no
risking viruses.
Yo, you had like 12 gigs.
I ain't got no space for that shit then.
Yeah, an album was a huge file back then. Now you can zip that in. That won't even take up a 100th of your phone space. But yeah, man, it's just really interesting to just when you think about where he was then in that headspace, and then, you know, what he's gone on to do since then. I've always, you know, it's one of those albums like I talked about last week. It makes me disappointed in his other music a lot of times, not because it's just bad, but because it's just such a high pinnacle to try to achieve. You may not get back there, you know? That
happens to so many artists. You know, they hit a high point and they're always trying to chase that dragon and try to hit where they were, or maybe even have the ability to work with artists that they worked with in the past.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, like you said, he's gotten back to that point since then.
No,
yeah, I think he went more like entertainment because that's when he started doing like after this he
Yeah.
got like a couple movie roles and shit. Like
Yeah.
And
he's
this
like
album
good
got
in-
him. This
yeah,
album got
they
him the
him up
mainstream
there.
success because it had those crossovers. When you have an album that has a hit with Rihanna, that has a hit with Justin Timberlake,
Yeah.
I mean,
Kanye.
you're out of there, dog.
Kanye, yeah,
Wayne,
you're out of there,
Wayne,
dog.
Luda.
You're fucking out of there.
Usher was on this bitch, bro.
Yeah, Usher,
was on this
John
show.
Legend.
And that was
John,
Yes.
Stop.
He had
Just
some-
stop. Stop. We don't need no more. Like, bro, come on now.
Yeah.
And I think what year did the movie Takers come out in? Does anybody remember what year that came out?
No.
I want to say
2010.
that's what I wanted to say.
I'll look it up. Let me look it
I
up.
wanted to say 2010, but I didn't want to be a lying ass nigga.
Yeah,
So-
but it sounds about right, bro. 2010 in there.
I should be 20.
August 27th, 2010. Hey, we on this.
Damn.
So, hey, it goes on what we're saying where that kind of catapulted his career to where he had other opportunities outside of music. So the focus wasn't just on the music. He started getting those TV deals.
Now he
tie
just
in.
chilling.
Yeah, you know, the family hustle and all that. And then, of course, like
Yeah.
we talked about before,
You
with like
gonna
Luda,
respect this hustle.
people see you differently after they get that accessibility
Yes.
to your life on a TV screen. Now, personally, one thing I kind of want to ask you guys before we move into the next segment is, most of us, we all come from around the same era as far as, you you guys are a couple years ahead of us, but we're all in that same general timeline.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I personally am one of those music stands that love, it's weird that I'm going to say this, but I liked not having as much accessibility to some of the artists where, maybe Drake, you didn't know what he was doing on Instagram
Yeah.
Live and all this
Yeah.
other stuff and IG stories. And then he just popped out and it's like, hey, man, new single or new album. Or Kanye was one of the main ones that was super mysterious. You didn't get to see his process. You didn't get to see him rant a bunch, and then
That's
bam,
when
he
that's
dropped
when
something.
Kanye was amazing. That's when you didn't when Kanye wasn't out in the public. That's when he was, I think, the most powerful. And then he just kind of, I couldn't agree with you more about on
It
that,
gets
on
watered
that
down.
point.
Yeah.
You get watered down.
I see pros and cons to both though, because the pro was you knew an album was coming out a certain date and you waited for it.
Oof,
But
and
I
them
think
delays,
now,
Yeah.
I think now you could drop one overnight like Beyonce or Drake or whatever.
Bad
And
Bunny, bro.
Just what? Hey, what? So I think there's pros and cons to both, and which I think you couldn't just drop an album back in the day because you don't have streaming back in the day. You can't just drop it overnight. You had to build up
Beyonce?
that.
You got to secure sales.
Streaming was already pretty popular then.
But it was more iTunes. I'll give you
Well,
half
yeah,
of that.
on
It was like
Twitter.
it was more iTunes.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is like, how do you feel about artists? Just the level of accessibility we have for them, like just as a fan.
Yeah. Mhm.
no, and I understand that concept. It's like, yeah, I don't like, and we kind of touched on it last week. Like these people that do drugs or do stuff off. Back in the day, we didn't know all that. You might know a little bit, but you didn't know all of that about them. And now that's why I guess last week, like I said, I don't really care because we have more accessibility to them. So yeah, I'm gonna see more about their life. Which,
but does it? I think what I was trying to say, does that really influence or impact the way that you view the music at that point?
Right.
And I would say so. I would say now, the fact that we know all about R. Kelly's history, I don't really want to bump R. Kelly. I feel awkward. I feel like a damn child molester when fucking R. Kelly comes on, and I'm not trying to step in the name of, you know what I'm saying?
not
I'm
so.
bumping it. I'm bumping it.
Not
Well,
hitting. That's what it was.
Okay. Let me go a little bit even like further.
I
off
actually
the
like
plane.
the
So like,
accessibility though.
So like Kendrick on this level, like T.I., right? You see the family hustle, you see him interact with his kids and shit like that. And obviously like that's not his past. I mean, that's his present. He's a family man now.
Yeah.
But then it's harder for me when I see an artist's whole life for me to then go back and snap into the mode of when I'm listening to an album. Even though they're trying to go from a former place of where they were, it's hard for me to hear you trapping and talking about certain things because I have too many visions of you on my TV screen doing family shit and playing golf and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Majority of the ones though that are doing it is like the older niggas that already then kind of fell off though. You don't see like none of the hot artists like with like family shows or no shit like that.
Yeah.
Like you don't see Drake with like all their other down out or nothing like that. Like,
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't even rate
It's
Drake.
kind of hard to
But-
play in both worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like T.I., like
Yeah.
that show don't faze me. Like his son can't fight still, so like.
And he was a legacy artist at that point.
Yeah, he already set his status. Not like Ja Rule. him doing that show, that shit was ridiculous. I don't even know what the show was called or titled, but they didn't even need to air that.
Bro, Ja Rule,
that gave people so much ammo for all the memes and shit, especially since he was still trying to beef with 50 at the time. And this nigga then bought all his tickets to his show. I was like, cancel the whole show. Right. I was like, just cancel the whole show, VH1.
I got a question for y'all. If you could have some insight on one artist back in the day when we had no kind of vision, who would it be? I'm gonna tell you, mine's Fat Joe, because I would have heard some stories in prison.
Okay, mine would have been Kanye. Y'all know I'm a Kanye fan.
I love Kanye. I have such a love-hate relationship with him, bro. I was standing for him for so long, and I mean, College Dropout, Touch the Sky. I mean,
like how far back, like our time or like 90s?
Like, I would have just loved to have seen like the modern,
anytime before
beautiful dark twisted fantasy sessions and shit in Hawaii.
I mean, even those were amazing. I would say that the New Slaves, where I kind of he lost me at like New Slaves. And then he was Life, but then Life of Pablo, I really fucking love.
Yeah, we saw a lot of him from that. We saw a lot of him, I feel like, during that, because that's when he was trying to branch out into the fashion shit. So you had a few interviews out there. Mm-hmm. He kind of raged out during the Yeezus phase where he was talking his ass off.
I miss the old Kanye was a mind fuck for me, bro.
Yeah,
I miss the old Kanye was like something where he was saying like, oh, I understand that I'm not that person anymore, and that for me is like, damn, that's weird. Like, you can actually separate yourself and say,
Kanye,
like,
wow, Kanye genius.
Well, you said he had them folks mad when he said, man. I inspire me.
Ain't nobody love Kanye like Kanye.
I inspire me.
He said, I'm mad I can't see myself perform live.
You didn't do the research.
But I'm gonna say this though, as a young black person, man, Kanye, without even knowing it, man, he had me having more confidence, because it was like, oh, that it's okay to be that way. Like, it's okay to be confident and even overconfident. Like, you know what I mean? You can see that in yourself. Homie was confident. He was a mad genius, and he knew it. And people want to hear you usually say, you know, I'm all right. He was like, bro, I'm the greatest. I'm the best. We bought up a couple, hip-hop, he said. Exactly. Now, with that, we bought up a couple artists just now that have been pretty vocal on a few different issues, being T.I. and Kanye. Now, with all that's gone on this week, with, like, you know, of course, the death or the murder, I should say, of George Floyd, I want to definitely be intentional with my wording there with the murder of George Floyd. You know, what do you guys feel like as an artist? What is their duty? Do they have a civic duty to have to speak out? Should you speak out with how many people, you know, you have in the platform that how many fans you have in the platform that you're given? You know, do you think that, and this is as pertaining to all things, whether it be, you know, race, religion, sexuality, what do you guys feel like an artist's responsibility is to speak out on these issues?
Can I go first? I'll go first.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, cool. I feel like, because this is something that I feel really passionate about. And I think in the face of like injustice, when we're talking about like societal impacts and situations and circumstances that impact everyone, especially people that listen to your music, I think you have to tell people where you stand on it. As an artist, I think that you have things to gain and things to lose from doing that, right? You have, at some point, you're going to piss a lot of people off if you stand behind something. Kanye West, again, great example. His political ideology is that he supports Donald Trump, because that just, like, for whatever reason, it speaks to him. And he lost a lot of people because of it. But he felt that he needed to say that. I think that, especially with, like, situations like right now, with George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, it's important to know where companies and where artists stand, so we know that if we want to continue to support them. You know, I don't feel like contributing or supporting an artist that doesn't understand the movement of Black Lives Matter. That's just the way I feel. If you don't have the courage to say where you stand on an issue that impacts literally the lives of so many people, then I don't know if you deserve to be an artist with a platform. That's just the way I feel about it. But I think there's some things that I think in regards to other people, like, let's say an artist shouldn't necessarily need to voice their opinion on another person's family. And as a queer artist myself, I think that the best example I can give of that is Zendaya Wade and Dwayne Wade's family, and the way that a lot of artists have felt the need to comment on his daughter, and to say and to flex or to insult or disgrace his daughter and what they're doing in their family. So at that point, I feel like you're causing a rift and you're creating division, you know, and you're limiting progress. But when it comes to issues like racism, where we know that we can identify with that, all of us can understand where we're coming from on that. I think that you have an opportunity there to galvanize the community and move progress forward, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, just to play devil's advocate here, because you brought up some really, really good points before anybody else chimes in. I just want to say, so honestly speaking, you know, though that super contentious subject with Dwayne Wade's daughter. Now, a lot of people felt a lot of different ways about that, and we can all admit, you know, we're all people of color. We know how it is within our communities a lot of times when it comes to you know, the question
of being gay or trans or any of that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you, even more so than any of us, being a part, you know, being right in both of those communities, being in the Black, Hispanic, and the gay community, know how that feels. Now, with that being said, okay, let's say an artist has a different standpoint where, you know, obviously we don't ever want to condone hate, but like, what if an artist has a strong standpoint that I don't think it's right, whatever, or, you know, like a Drew Brees type thing where he did speak his mind and he got stomped out. Do you think that if you're not being, I guess, helpful to the cause, you should stand back and be quiet, or should you still voice your opinion, even if it's counter to maybe what the points are of you know, what's being put out there?
I think going back to what I said, you run the risk of really showing your ignorance on something. You know, I think when people get down to the nitty gritty and they understand that everybody's human, you know, and especially queer people within the Black community, they endure a lot of hate from everyone else just for being Black, but then from their own community for being who they are and trying to be authentic about who they are. And everybody wants to talk about how, you know, I wish people need to be real. People need to be real. I can't stand that fake shit. And as soon as you want to be real, people are like, oh, no, I don't fuck with that gay shit.
That's a fact, yeah.
And it's like, bro, what you mean? You wanted me to be real. Now you want me to hide who the fuck I am to make you feel comfortable about it? Like, nah, fuck that.
You can't talk real shit and then
they'd be like, oh, no, this shit made me feel uncomfortable. Like, bro, ain't nobody trying to holler at you.
Yeah.
You know? Ain't nobody interested in you, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't type away about it.
Don't flatter yourself, yeah.
Exactly. But I think that the best advice I can give to anybody who's looking at this, that has a platform and wants to share their opinion on something, inform yourself. And don't just inform yourself with opinions. I think look at both sides of it, but look at it genuinely and from a place of understanding, as opposed to a place of trying to validate your own prejudices. And I think that is the best lesson that a lot of us can learn from. Don't do research on something like the trans experience or queer experience in an effort to just validate your hate. Do it from a place of genuine empathy and understanding, and I really feel that we can have a lot more progress in society.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of got to frame it like a hypothesis, and not you're not seeking to prove or disprove. You're just seeking to gain a little bit more understanding. But please, both of you chime in at any time. I won't really pass it off to either one of you, but y'all go from there, whatever you have
Curtis,
to say.
What you got to say? I know you got a lot to say, Curtis. You always talk too damn much.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I think music is very passionate. When we think about music, we associate emotions to it. Wherever our feeling is, if you ever look at our playlist, it's probably associated with our feelings that week.
Yeah.
These people, whether your race, sexuality, whatever it is, you have a huge platform. Just like we do. We have a platform here. May not be as big as maybe a Lil Wayne, a Kendrick, a J. Cole, but it is a platform. And there's a lot of people that follow you. So you have the ability to lead and be a voice of many, many people.
Right.
That being said, I think you sort of have a responsibility to at least take the voice of the people that follow you, because everybody has a certain following. There's not the same. Lil Wayne and Young Dolph and J. Cole's following is not the same. So I believe that those voices that are unheard, you have the ability to put it out there. But most importantly, especially like right now with the Black Lives Matter, I'm not so worried about the black artists speaking up on it. Like Killer Mike has been speaking on this.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
J. Cole has been doing this.
Right.
People keep saying Kendrick's quiet, but Kendrick was speaking on this before it became a popular
He has a
thing.
whole album dedicated to this.
I was like, on albums.
The people that we should request that need to speak on this are the white artists, the maybe Mexicans. Other groups and minorities need to speak up in regard to this. So, like when Lil Nas X came out, no one really stood with him. Not all, you know what I'm saying? All these other straight artists didn't step up with him. So he's sitting there. Yes, he has a voice. He's there, but no one is backing him up. And I think that's the real issue, is that we have all these artists. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we have all these.
Beyonce,
yeah, I mean, you had a few,
but not from the hip hop, not from the hip hop community as much, because they want to distance themselves from anything that has to do with that.
But the baby got on that song with him.
Hey, well, here's the thing: you got all these people want to make hits with you, and they want to ride your coattails when you're hot.
And that's what he said.
You need them.
Mm-hmm.
Where they at?
No, and
so I think that's the real issue. I think that's the real issue on any certain topic. Now, of course, right now,
Panini was fire.
Hey, it was.
Hey, that video.
Yeah.
But
I almost started singing the shit. I said, "Hold up, chill out."
I think that's the real issue. It's not the people we want, the people we listen to say it. We know they're gonna say it. J. Cole, you know he was gonna do something. Kendrick may not be doing something in the light. He may be doing something behind the scenes. That's just who Kendrick has always been. But I mean, Eminem said, "Oh, we're gonna participate," or Shady Records is gonna participate in Black Lives Matter. And yes, he had that one freestyle. Mm-hmm. But I need him to be very vocal right now. I need him to be very vocal because he is the biggest white artist. There's nobody close, and he's not very vocal. I need him to be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is more vocal than Eminem.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, Aaron Rodgers plays a position that's typically white, right?
Facts.
Eminem's in a position that's typically black. So I need
Devil's
those
advocate
people to step up, because a white person is not really going to be utterly changed by another black person all the time.
Well, yeah, and I think that we need to get away from expecting black people to continue to fight their own battle in a society that doesn't even acknowledge them. I think you're very right in saying that, especially artists that appropriate black music and black culture as their own and have benefited and profited and flourished with black music. I think it is their obligation to not only defend black culture and black lives, but to definitely voice where they stand on this issue. And that's definitely what I was referring to. Black people have no obligation. They exist. That is the battle that they fight a battle every motherfucking day. Every time they go somewhere and they have the probability of being pulled over by a police officer and dying, that is the battle they fight every day. They shouldn't have to fucking come out and say shit. But it's other artists that need to be able to do that. Definitely.
I
devil's
feel
advocate
like
with Eminem though. Devil's advocate with Eminem is just, I would say he's built I won't disagree with the fact that he's built a career literally off of black genre of music. Now, one of the things I would say just in playing this role and kind of rebuttaling you guys, he's mainly supported by white America, of course. That's who kind of got him that top spot. And he probably has some of the most to lose, which isn't an excuse to not say anything. Now, here's an interesting topic, though. We've all admitted that within the black community, Eminem doesn't necessarily resonate as much. So I feel like a lot of the fears can be from the fact that, okay, these people that I'm going to jump out here and support, are they in turn going to support me? Or am I going to be kind of left? Because a lot of Trumpers are big Eminem fans.
Well, I'll say this. it's not that we don't enjoy Eminem. I think we've explained that we've matured and where he's at, we just don't feel. I don't bump Most Def in the car either. It's not that it's just Eminem. I think it's just his style of music that we're not really just gonna go bump. It's not just him. But I will say this: racism. You never heard a black person go and tell a white person and say, "I changed their family." It's always, hey, I grew up, my grandfather was racist, but I didn't feel that way, and I raised my kids this way to change. Yeah. So the people that need to change are not the black people. They're the ones screaming out. And so that's, in my way, I need other races, not necessarily just Eminem. It can be Hispanics. Because on turn, when it comes to Hispanic issues, then you need the black people and the white people. And that's the only real way you're going to create unity, because if it's a Hispanic or Latino issue, yes, Hispanics are going to speak out. We know this. It's going to happen. And that's why I say, yes, I feel like if you're, especially Eminem, and that's why I keep bringing him up, he's in a predominantly black. Now, granted, I think he does a great job, but I just think right now, that's your one beacon in the hip hop community. Well, I mean, you got Machine Gun Kelly too. I think he's probably the second, maybe. And I can't really think of a third just off rip that has that power.
Yeah, no. Probably. What's that dude's name?
G-Eazy.
G-Eazy. I was gonna say G-Eazy maybe, but he's real gimmicky to me. I think when it comes to terms of something that's right and something that's wrong, like we all know, you can't deny racism is wrong. You know, it should be real easy for artists to vocalize their stance on that. And I think that it's even though it should be understood, people should I think something that Eminem might come with, like, yeah, man, you should understand where I'm at and where I, you know, how I feel about it. He's probably something that he would say, like you said, playing devil's advocate. But I think that there's so many, like you said, so many people that listen to him that don't share that sentiment. They need to be reminded of that. And if anything, so they can look at it like, oh shit, well, my hate's not being validated by one of my role models. My hate's not being validated by somebody that I look up to. And maybe that'll cause a moment of introspection, and we can be lucky that way. But I think we need all the help we can get when it comes to battling those types of things.
Hell yeah. Henny, did you have anything to add?
Man, I'm gonna make it short because I know we got a lot of other topics.
Yeah,
basically,
fact.
As far as like having the platform and shit, like, you know it's there, so you know what kind of power you got, and you know, like, a human life should be way more valuable than just some material type shit or just some records or sales. Like, this shit just it gets old after a while. Like, the shit needs to end. So like, if you're not speaking out on this, like, I don't want to see you speak out on no political shit. Like, I don't want to see you like, if you're not gonna talk about a debt, then just don't talk about nothing. Don't talk about no type of politics, nothing else. I'll be fine with you. But if I see you not speak about this, and then later on I just see you talking about just some random shit. Oh, why are taxes so high? Like, nigga, what? Taxes? Like that's what's gonna get me hot then right there. Like, you can't talk about human life and just don't talk about shit else that outside of your music. Don't talk about shit else.
Yeah. And that's respectable. My 2 cents on that is just, I venture off a little bit to the left. I don't necessarily think you have to, and as someone who prefers that you do, being in a position that obviously, you know, as an ethnicity, like, you hope people will speak out on these issues. I kind of align more with, if you don't, just keep it hush on a lot of other things. Now, one thing I will say for the artists, I want to address the artists that do speak out, white, black, or whoever. I don't just want to hear lip service. You gotta be about action as well, because a lot of times people are just tweeting stuff and then they're not doing anything. And I have the same feeling in the sentiment towards these companies, man. So I'm actually one of the people, I don't like these companies coming out and necessarily aligning themselves with Black Lives Matter, because I kind of see that to be a little bit of a different, it's not that I hate that they're doing it, but let's take a company like Amazon, who a large base of their entry-level workforce is Hispanics, blacks, poor whites. And we've heard through the grapevine they don't treat their employees all that well. Also, when you look at some of these big companies, man, what are y'all doing on y'all's board of directors? Is anybody in your executive leadership black? Is anybody in your executive what are you doing to actually stoke a real fire for change? You know what I mean? Because you're just talking right now. Real change comes through getting people in these boardrooms that have, that are people of color, and making it a point to hire people and put them in leadership positions if they're worthy of it. To be in those rooms. But if you're not putting people of color in those rooms, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear nothing from you.
And a great example of something that you're talking about exactly. I think it was HelloFresh. It's that company that was it HelloFresh. There's a couple other companies that say, we're taking this moment right now to look introspectively to see who we have in leadership positions and director positions, and we noticed that we don't have people of color in these positions, and we're going to take it upon ourselves to be proactive and to change that. And I think you hit a very good point. I think that definitely resonates with me. This is Pride Month for those of you that aren't queer. So the whole month of June is Gay Pride Month. And we've seen an uptick in businesses do the same thing. All of a sudden you see rainbow beer bottles and rainbow this and rainbow that. And everybody's about pride and equality.
You're trying to fucking capitalize.
When you make
just
money
for that month.
Cut the fucking shit.
But like you said,
the July 1st hit.
You see
where the rainbows at.
Exactly, bro. But what it does do is it normalizes it. And what it does do is it makes it a household conversation. And that's the one thing that I will agree that all publicity is good publicity in some regards, because it creates a conversation. So while I don't agree with somebody using the gay flag as a means to make profit when they really have nothing invested in our community, I do appreciate the young children growing up and saying, oh, look, they did this. And they don't understand that this company doesn't really, contribute to gay people, but at least it's visible. There's some visibility there. And you don't understand the type of relief that can give to somebody. So I think that these companies like Lego and Disney and those are Pokemon Go even that donated $200,000 to the Black Lives Matter movement. You're seeing children that use these applications. No, damn, they value me as a black child, when so many other companies have never even said a word about it. So I think there's definitely two ways to be about it. But I like you said, put your money where your mouth is, and let me see what you do inside your company to make real change.
I play Pokemon Go too.
Hell yeah.
Pokemon, let me get that black character.
It's funny, y'all talking about companies that do that. NASCAR is actually one of those companies, NASCAR. And, they actually...
we can hear you, bud.
Black execs. Henny, you be watching that shit too. Don't be capping.
So we can hear you, bud.
Hey, Kyle, we can hear you, bud.
No, but everybody just assumes NASCAR is racist, but they've actually made the steps to do that.
But it's just the fans, a lot of it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah, I mean, and you hear that, but they've actually taken the steps to do it. They've been real minority execs in there. They do. But you don't hear, they're not making it a huge announcement. They actually just take the steps and do it and change it.
Do some shit.
You don't hear them announcing it all the time. Oh, yeah, we're going to do this. It's the same almost, and I spoke on this just real quick. The Snapchat I made the other day, it's like, yeah, all y'all change your profile pictures to black. Okay. Now the next day, okay, what did you do to incite change? Granted, I get it. It built a light on the it brought a light to the incident, but you're not doing anything for change. It's the same as y'all gonna mess me up. LBGT. I can't get all the letters. Y'all know I feel bad, but before that, everybody had rainbow profile pictures.
LBGT, QM,
WZ,
3 letters.
Nigga,
I can barely do this. But I'm saying everybody had rainbow profile pictures before, and a week later, we didn't do anything or change anything.
Did nobody say shit about the gay people that are getting murdered? Black trans women are the highest murdered people in the country. Yeah, and there's not enough people talking about it, but they want to fucking put a rainbow flag on their profile picture. Some bullshit.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Man, y'all, we could probably talk about this
Right.
forever. And
Sorry.
we all have a lot
That's a
of
whole
good shit to
different
say. No,
podcast.
Segue.
no, we have a lot of good shit to say, and it's good to get on a serious tip sometimes because we spend a lot of time joking, and I think that being, intentional with our words and actually touching on some of these topics and not being afraid to, speak our minds and be a champion for change definitely is something to be valued. So definitely something I appreciate everybody's words on that. We're going to move directly into the albums topic now because we spent good time on our topic there. We had 3 albums. We'll just kind of get through them. Not too quickly, but we'll just touch on them briefly and just, kind of talk about what we, like we normally do, what we liked or didn't like about the album. So this week we had 3 pretty big releases, I'd say. We had that Lil Yachty. It was the Lil Boat 3. We had Anuel AA.
There's a double I.
Double A.
Hey, Rob, baby.
Emmanuel. And then we had Freddie Gibbs, Gangsta Gibbs, Alfredo.
Yeah, man.
Let's get into the Lil Yachty, Lil Boat 3. Whoever wants to pick it up, go ahead, be my guest.
Oh, that's got to be Henny. That's got to be Henny.
Okay.
Nah, I'll go last because
You drive the boat. Nah, drive the boat.
I'm gonna take everything y'all can say. Y'all ain't gonna have nothing left to say.
You know what?
On this
I'll go
album.
tradition. I'll break tradition. I'll go first on this one and let everybody else kind of go off that. So I mean, I'm not the biggest Yachty fan. I'll say this though, I was pleasantly surprised, man. I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed more tracks off it than I thought I would. I thought the whole shit was going to the recycle bin, and it didn't. It didn't all go there.
Right. Yeah.
He's gotten better. He's having fun making music. Everything Yachty does isn't necessarily my cup of tea, but the guy's capable of making hits. I liked about maybe 3-4 songs off it. I would give it a 6 out of 10. It's between a 5 and a 6 out of 10. Not bad. Just I think it was just a fun album, not to be taken super seriously. But there were some good features. He's gonna make some money off this album. There's gonna get some good streaming numbers, and there's not a whole lot more depth to it for me, but I thought it was cool. It was just cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will definitely say that I agree with you on the depth perspective of it. I was super surprised by this because I used to think, and I mean, no offense to Lil Yachty, whatever, he not gonna hear this probably, but I thought he was trash for the longest time. And I think it's his cadence and shit that it just annoys the fuck out of me because he'll be on some fire ass beats, and I'll be into the beat here with that fake ass T-Pain fucking filter and shit, and it just gets old. It's like, bro, it's the same filter every fucking song, dog. But this album in particular, I think Concrete Boys was one that I was like, oh man, this is fire. There were a couple songs on here that I would definitely bump. I'd like to go mountain biking, and I'm always looking for songs I can go mountain biking with, and that's something that I can really write to. He's definitely progressed as an artist, and this album is a really good example of him being more professional. And putting more effort into his music. Like you said again, I'm gonna repeat the whole depth thing. It's about dumb shit for the most part. I really don't. There's nothing really introspective about it for me. From what I took of it, my first listen, maybe I'll listen to it again and I'll find some gems in there. Where I'm like, okay, he was kind of playing on something deeper, but. I think for the most part, it's just he said before he likes to make music to party to, music to like have fun to. So he's not really trying to be in that vein, and I can respect him for admitting that. And I think for what it is, it was a solid 5 for me, a 5 out of 10 for that for sure.
Nice.
Man, I guess I'm gonna piggyback on both of y'all. I'm not a Yachty fan at all. So when this album came up, I literally dreaded putting it on. But hey, I'm gonna keep it 100. Little Yachty come see me, but he's grown. He's grown. I used to think he was like dumpster juice, and then I think he's still trash, bro. But he's got the lavender bag on it. Okay, he's grown. He's grown. But we also have to.
You got the juice out of there.
He's 22.
Super young.
And you're right.
He makes music for fun. So I respect that. And I do think he's grown. I really didn't think I was going to like it. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
There were some tracks, Split, TD, Pardon. The only track I really just liked him on, where he stood out, I think was Demon Time. I really enjoyed that track.
If I see one more nigga name they song Demon Time, I'm about to start slapping the shit out of niggas.
I don't even know.
Let that go.
I don't think he's ever going for depth, so I wasn't expecting that. Like, if I would have gotten depth, I wanted to like that track. I didn't like that track. Okay, listen.
Hey, but he's doing better with QC now.
Okay, he's still trash. But you're not gonna change my opinion on him being trash. But he has grown, I will admit. And there are, like everybody said, there are gonna be some tracks that I actually put in my playlist. So he's grown in that aspect, because on the old, I definitely would have just listened, ignored. The only song I really thought was just complete trash on here was the Oprah one.
I laughed so hard at that.
The video is hilarious, and I think we've said this before. Video is hilarious. The song,
we have discussed this before.
Trash.
I didn't.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Henny take over the boat because I jumped off the motherfucker.
Hey, that was good. That was a nice transition.
Keaton got the fill and shit. I'm just telling everybody they got a Lil Boat fucked up. So my nigga already said he going back to the old Lil Melly D type shit. So I already kind of expected what the flow of this album was gonna be like, kind of. So nigga been waiting for it. Off rip, fuck Future for his whistling, because I can't whistle. That nigga killed the fuck out of that party, me nigga. Rolled that whole smooth. That nigga Future is just in a whole different bag right now. Had to bring that shit up. Lemonhead, gotta bring the Ratchet song up every time, of course. Nigga said got some Lemonheads, that's, So that whole was fire. West Side, I fucked with. We already heard Oprah's bank account. I fuck with the video. The lyrics in that song, we already said Drake gave this nigga a throwaway verse. Like that don't even need to be talked about in that song. Split whole time I fuck with that song. The video actually went hard as fuck. Hella niggas in that video. Like somebody definitely got the Rona after that. That shit came out right after. Them niggas was in there like right after the world was technically back open. So I don't know about that one. And then for me, Range Rover sports truck, fuck with that hoe. I have to give that hoe a good. I give it an 8 for me. It's like a 7.5, but I'll go ahead and give it an 8 just because I fuck with Yachty. 8 out of 10. Concrete Boys was another good one, like you said.
That was my shit.
For a nice little outro, so it was solid.
Fact, man. Okay, so not complete garbage on everybody's scale. It went from a good album to kind of a mid album for most of us. So either way, we'll be staying tuned and seeing what Yachty has coming up next. I would assume Lil Boat 4.
Hell nah. Big Boat. He gotta wait. He gotta be in some features. He about to go to the yacht.
Big yacht.
Let's go to Anuel's album, Emmanuel. And of course, we want to start with Sphinx for this one. I feel like he probably has the most. And by of course, people, because we did talk about this before we started.
Yeah, I'm about to say you might want to say why.
To clear that up, we did. He shared.
That didn't look good.
We're just gonna go ahead and give it to the one guy that looks like he could build a wall.
Yes, let me be clear. He was enthusiastic about this album.
I am.
There you go.
He was.
There you go.
No, yeah.
Talk about being intentional with our words. Yeah.
I think probably one of the reasons that I actually understood the lyrics, and that does have some impact on whether or not you repeat that song. I know a lot of my cousins, for example, my black cousins, that love reggaeton and can sing the song with you, but do not know what the fuck they're singing. And it's cool. They vibe with that shit though. I know fucking Curtis used to fucking listen to French rap. That motherfucker listen to French rap, and I don't know what the fuck they
Tony
on
Parker
that shit.
head ass.
Tony Parker head.
Nueve 9 head ass. What?
But
he was Tony Parker's brother.
So I would say that Anuel the something that I think has is going against every reggaeton artist right now that I'm listening to is I put them against Bad Bunny, and I'm a Bad Bunny stan. I think he has changed the genre, and I think he's in his own class of musician right now. And I have trouble separating what he's doing with what new reggaeton artists, or I mean, not even like Anuel's not new, but what they're coming out with right now. So I listened to the album a good 2-3 times, certain songs way more often than others. But the second time I listened to it all the way through, I really started to understand it and see that it was really a lot more trap in it, and I appreciated that. It's a lot. It definitely holds true to like some old school reggaeton. He has some features on there. Tego Calderon is an old school from like the first wave of reggaeton musicians. Karol G is a newer female reggaetonera, and I think this song, the first jam on there, is basically a cover of No Woman No Lie, and it's adapted to like his own romantic love story. No Woman No Cry, I'm sorry. And that's one of my favorite Bob Marley songs ever. So to hear him kind of translate it and it's still kind of like mimic that a little bit, I was a little bit impressed. You got the Caribbean feel in it, and I think that's what reggaeton is. It's a mixture of Caribbean music with hip hop and everything else that's going around right now. So there was another song that I really, really loved. Narcos. Yeah, bro, that beat was everything. The way that he rapped on it was really good. Somos o no Somos is another one that really hit with me. And Tocándote, he had a couple of, like you said, of like some for the ladies. He gave a really good mixture. You had some upbeat, some high tempo, some real gritty music, and then you have some like love ballads, which is not what I was expecting. This dude, his initial in the beginning of his career, y'all might not know, but he was really like gutter, dirty, nasty. I mean, even in this song, he was talking about getting somebody from the back. You know what I'm saying? He was actually
digging
talking
a
about
bitch
that.
out.
Kevin Gates.
You know what I'm saying?
Kevin Gates.
Very Kevin Gates of it. He taught this one bitch like basically like she ripped niggas' dicks off and shit. Female. So he was but he was he used to be really kind of grimy with it. And he's definitely he's definitely trying to mainstream it more. He's definitely trying to have a much more wide audience. And I think that that's a trend that you will find with a lot of reggaetoneros, as they start out really gangster, really gutter, and they kind of transition a little more pop reggaeton to kind of get more listeners. And he did it in a way that I can respect. So I honestly love the album, and I'm going to give him an 8 probably on this album, especially for him as an artist, I would say. Comparatively to his other work, he did a song with 6ix9ine that was kind of cool for a little while, but then it was 6ix9ine and I just stopped.
And if I'm not mistaken, he also had a feature with Meek Mill. Did y'all hear the one he had with Meek Mill? Yeah, Uptown, I want to say. He's branching out. I think a lot of hip hop artists now are working with reggaeton singers, because they see a lot of crossover potential.
Trying to get that bag.
Hell yeah! I mean, the thing is that we listen to it.
When you go on them tours.
But the thing is that people in those communities, they idolize a lot of reggaetoneros, a lot of young reggaeton singers. They idolize American hip hop. That's where they get a lot of influence, fashion wise, music wise. They'll see them rap on a couple of American beats, and they do it justice. And I feel like we're finally able to see that Puerto Rico and the Caribbean has something to contribute to the culture. And I love the direction that it's moving in. And I love the fact that we're starting to adopt it. And I can listen to a hip hop album and they throw in a fucking feature from a reggaeton person on it, and it automatically makes me vibe with it so much more. So that's my take on it.
8 out of 10. No, solid. I guess I would just, to follow it up, y'all know how I feel about long albums.
Nah, nigga, tell us.
I hate.
That was the first thing I was gonna say.
I knew he was gonna say some shit.
I don't like long albums. This was actually surprisingly an easier listen for me because I didn't understand some of the wording and because I had to kind of be a little bit more in tune with like the beat and just kind of the cadence and things like that. So I actually didn't mind the 22 tracks. I want to say it was 21 or 22 tracks 22. In this case. I didn't mind it as much. It's definitely an album that I would probably play around the house just to vibe to, really. You know, I don't get a ton out of the rapping because I don't understand a lot of it, but the parts that I do understand are really good. And I think that, I did do a little bit of research on Homie just back from even when he had the feature with Meek Mill. And, Homie's a big superstar. He's a superstar, international superstar. Interesting background. Had some jail time on some weapons charges before. So he has a little grit in his background, but he comes from a music family. Exactly. Dad was like an executive in the music world as well. So, he's in his proper place and he's doing justice. Just off of, I had to vibe with this album. It was one of those I couldn't go off of necessarily just lyricism. I'd give it a 7.5. I'd probably go 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it for the most part. I definitely want to listen to it a little bit more, and it's something to play around the ladies for sure. So, I mean, you can never really go wrong there. I think it serves multiple purposes, and you can kind of just run it through, and really good vibes on there.
I agree.
You want to go next, or all right?
I'll go. I enjoy this album, and I listen to this music. I will fully admit that I'm one of those niggas that don't understand shit, but I just vibe to the album, and sometimes I really do write to these albums. I listen to Bad Bunny.
You write in English or Spanish?
It's English, bro. Mi hablo no español. Oh, got y'all already. Si se puede, bitch.
You said you did,
bitch.
I learned that from Boots and Door, nigga.
He's about to use the whole vocabulary up.
Mastinetto's it. That's after. No, but I'm a fuck up these song titles. I'm gonna let y'all know. But I like Yanguero, Hasta du Dios Diga, Narcos, Fiari.
Yeah, nigga know Narcos.
Yeah. He pronounced that one perfect, didn't he?
He said, Narcos.
He rolled it perfect. Narcos.
Despu. I don't know how you say that.
Those are the tracks I fuck.
Yeah.
Those.
That was the last one's really my track, but I think this kind of runs a parallel to T.I.'s album from where he went and where he got to. And the diversity on this album. Now, I'm probably the minority here. I don't mind a 21-track album. Now, 40, that's different. I don't mind if it's 7, 15, or 21, as long as the album has replay value and range. And I think he does range on this. And what I really like you said, he has the Bad Bunny. He has the big guy, which I think him and Bad Bunny make a great duo together.
They're good friends. They're actually really they're good. They're cool people.
Yeah. So it's sort of like the Dolph and the Key Glock. I think they have that sense. And then you bring Lil Wayne, so you have that American rapper in there, and then like you said, you have the female, and then you had the Zion. You just had so many different feels to this album, but it came together really nicely.
Really well. Yeah.
I give it an 8 out of 10. I'm definitely replay value for me. And, I may not understand it, but I think how he sounds on an album, how he sounds on a track, I think that's international. I don't have to understand somebody to understand that he is good. He's good at what he does. And then the vibe of something. I think even if you're a Mexican and you only speak Spanish, I think you can hear an American song and get that same sense to it. And that's really just how I feel. But definitely 8 out of 10. I'm going to listen to it multiple times. Henny, it's on you, big dog.
Oh, rip. I'm going to just go ahead and say that Somos, that hoe was my shit, bro. That hoe came on fire, bro. I'm saying, man. That's how these margaritas got made right here, boy.
Margarita right there.
In the blender, I was just rolled up a little blunt to that hoe. I was like, okay, this nigga
Yes,
cool.
bro.
Have a little jig on. I was like, all right, this nigga is huge.
All right,
We got Enrique Iglesias on that hoe. I was like,
yes.
okay. We somewhere Ferrari, Lil Wayne. I was like, okay, a nigga I can know word for word. I was like, man,
I knew half that track
real quick. I was like, we in here. But yeah, overall, man, it was a good ass sound. Like, if I hear shit like this, like in the club, I'm that nigga that's gonna be out there on the dance floor dancing.
Yeah, bro.
I've seen it, folks. I've seen it.
Yeah, so I really vibe with the album. Like, it was long. You know what I'm saying? I didn't expect an hour and a half, but overall, it was smooth. So I'll give it a 7 just to make that short.
Oh.
Okay.
Because you know it was some shit in there I didn't know word for word. But we're not gonna get into that.
Yeah. Now,
just moving the lips.
The moment I've been waiting for. Y'all know I've been waiting for this, man. That Freddie Gangsta Gibbs, man.
Oh yeah.
Homie had and to be clear, it's kind of a collaborative album with the Alchemist. Not a very long album necessarily. How many tracks were on that thing, man? I think it was like
1,
under
2,
10.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
11 tracks, man.
It was short, though.
The album was titled
like
Alfredo. Yeah, 35 minutes, man. So this was an album that I looked forward to. Didn't have a ton of promo before. He kind of announced it a couple weeks back, and here we already had it, which is how I preferred. I like when an artist says, hey, I'm doing this with Alchemist, and then they don't make us wait all year, man. Whoever wants to start it off, man, give us your thoughts on Alfredo, man.
I mean, I'll start it off.
He's a Curtis.
I look Alfredo. No, I was kidding.
I do. This man, that sound fire, right?
Fat ass. I think it was a good album. I don't vibe with it, and I'll say that. I think he had great features. No, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I give it an 8 out of 10. There's albums that you can listen to and say, hey, that's good. I'm not necessarily going to vibe to this. Okay. My album for him is Freddie. I loved Freddie. I love the song God is Perfect, and I love that he had features like Conway the Machine, Benny the Butcher, Tyler the Creator. I listened to it, and I appreciated this album. I loved him, and Alchemist did a great job. I just necessarily don't vibe with it. But somebody that does, it's an amazing album. And I think I can differentiate me not necessarily listening to an album and appreciating its greatness. And I thought this was a great album that they put together, not only production, bars, the vibe to it. So definitely, I won't listen to it again, but I definitely, if somebody, I've already told 2 people that I know appreciate this kind of music to listen to it, and they loved it.
You could identify who would love that album just off hearing it and still have an appreciation. No fact, man. Henny, man, what'd you think about Alfredo?
Ain't gonna lie, piece of ice of this margarita just almost killed me right now. But yeah,
to the back of the throat.
That shit got stuck like right here. This is punching bag.
Pause.
But yeah, pause. But yeah, man, the only thing I'm really disappointed on it about is the Rick Ross track. Cause I thought Rick Ross was about to get on that hoe and slide on that hoe. I'm mad at that nigga's verse, honestly. But overall, it's a smooth track. I fuck with Scotty Beam. Something to rap about with Tyler. Oh, that was my shit on that hoe. That's actually in my playlist for the week.
Lico knows.
Note that down so I can remember. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's 10 songs. Not bad, 35 minutes. So it's something I definitely downloaded. I'm going to give it a couple re-listens to see if there's any extra tracks I missed out on. But I give it right now, I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Fair enough.
It's something to vibe to, though. Yeah, it's something definitely that's pretty
enough,
heavy.
Man.
Frank Lucas.
Hey.
Almost forgot that bitch. That was another one that went hard on that. Frank Lucas
Frank Lucas was right.
Absolutely. And I mean, just to also mention, this is one of those albums. I mean, the last album that he put out where a lot of people thought it was a contender for Rap Album of the Year was Bandana. He did something similar, and it was him and Madlib. So he's getting in the, in the booth with producers with you know, producers that aren't necessarily known to just get in there and work with one artist, you know, iconic producers, and he's putting out these bodies of work. So, you know, interesting that he's just, I want to see who else he works with. Sphinx, man, what'd you think about the Freddie Gibbs joint, bro?
Bro, I was really impressed, to be honest with you. I'm going to be upfront and say that I don't really listen to him regularly. He's not somebody that's in my rotation typically. But when I was presented with the album, I was pleasantly surprised with it. I think the idea of working with another artist like Alchemist is that you push each other, and you really get a solid product out of two quality artists pushing each other instead of one trying to outshine the other one. And they melted really well together. God is perfect, man. Scott, I think my favorite though is Scotty Beam, by far. And something that I think really that really spoke to me about this album is that I was getting into a discussion with a music producer a couple of days ago about how he believes that in light of Black Lives Matter, that Black people need to get away from glorifying drugs and gangster life and whatnot and what have you. And my argument is that, you know, it's gangster life and urban culture and street culture is a product of our environment. You know what I mean? We're products of oppression. And something that I think that he did on this album is not glorify, but help people. It helped people. It was relatable. Mm-hmm. If you've ever lived in those kinds of circumstances where you had to learn how to hustle by yourself, when nobody was teaching you shit, and you had, I mean, I can resonate with that. It's relatable to me. When I learned how to hustle, I taught myself, because number one, you're embarrassed to ask people, yo, how do you do this?
How do you cook crack?
I wasn't on that level, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, this nigga went from Zoe to Vlad.
Boy, I'm about to turn my screen on.
But he also, to your point though, he also speaks about a lot of those instances in past tense. He lets you know that this was shit he was doing.
Exactly, and that's what I mean on the sense that it wasn't glorifying. It was something more like, this is a part of me, and I'm not gonna ignore it, and I'm not gonna pretend like it's not me anymore. And I think that dichotomy of glorification and relatability is something that a lot of musicians walk the line over. You know, on some musicians, you can totally tell, man, they're glorifying taking the Zanny and getting fucked up and sipping on syrup, and not that it's bad. I mean, that's just life. It is what it is. But I think when you can do it in an artistic way and really tell a story and paint an image, like I'm a very visual person. When I'm listening to something, whether it be poetry or music, I'm playing a movie in my head almost. And I'm assigning, you know, images to what I'm listening to. And it's a very visual album for me. I really liked it. And I think the fact that it was a short album, to y'all's point, it was easier to listen to. It wasn't daunting. I wasn't like, oh shit, here go another track. Like, okay, man, that was it. Let me listen to it again. Let me listen to the ones that I really liked again. I would give it a 9 for sure. And I would definitely listen to it has value in that I will definitely listen to it multiple times, especially the songs that I really liked. But I recommend the album 100% to anybody that's interested in giving him a shot, because it was great.
Awesome. Yeah, man. And just to kind of follow up on that, like, so I mean, I love Freddie Gibbs, big fan. I'd say within the last 5 years or so, he really has done some interesting projects. My favorite album so far is probably, before this, was probably You Only Live Twice. It was kind of like an EP type album. But man, I just gotta say, like, I was blown away by this album. I thought it was like pretty much almost just short of a masterpiece, and it was a masterclass just in rapping. I think one of the things that people are forgetting in this day and age, be a good rapper first, man. Freddie Gibbs is a good rapper. He's a rapping ass nigga, man. And he doesn't get outshined by the production, but he also doesn't necessarily put the production so far in the backdrop that you can only hear his vocals. It works really well, and you can tell it's a very creative process and a very intense process when he's working with, you know, whether it be Madlib or Alchemist, because it shows through the music that it's not just, you know, sending a verse back and forth between a couple of dudes. It's really intimate in the creation of this art, man. I thought the time frame was perfect. I liked the 10 tracks. To Kendra's point, I actually was a little disappointed in Ross's verse. But I just to kind of run through the track list, man, really quick. I don't think there's any skippables on this. I mean, it starts off with 1985. You get the Jordan bars. God is Perfect is great. Scotty Beam with her fine ass. That's great. Look at Me, Frank Lucas. To your point, Sphinx, he's a really good visual rapper where I feel like I almost got to call dude Young Scorsese because he's really good at painting that picture, man. And it's vivid. It's vivid in the bars. And he just does it well over the beat selection, you know? I couldn't recommend this album enough. This is probably my favorite album this year so far. It's gonna get heavy bang from me. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
Respect.
I think that's my first 10 on here.
Yeah,
the second 10.
Tyler the Creator, bro. Tyler the Creator, bro. I love his fucking bars on that shit, dog. He's another artist. I mean, I know not to take away from Freddie, but I love that artists are including him because he was on the Boat 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, and he snapped on that too.
He was hitting it. Yeah.
Both of those songs in my playlist this week.
You know what I'm saying?
Tyler's
and he's
snapping on shit.
That initially when he came out, I was like, our future, whatever. But now I was like, bro, Tyler is coming with it, bro. And I really like what he had to say on Something to Rap About.
And it's just refreshing because like this is a rap album, you know. To Kennawayne's point, you got 2/3 are good, you know, or you got 2 people from Griselda on there who are known for rapping.
Yes.
You got Tyler spitting
got bars, man.
You got everybody on here spitting some of the best verses this year. And this actually is one of those things that, as much as I love where Tyler's going creatively, it makes me miss this. It makes you forget he's a really, really, really good lyricist, man. And he's a good MC, you know. And you know, I get it. You want to branch out and you want to win Grammys for things outside of the urban awards, and I more power to that. But you know, this was just a master class, man. And I hope more artists follow suit. But no, three good albums that I think, you know, will be in rotation for a while. They're at least in some capacity. All right, man. So let's go ahead and just get to our playlist. We're gonna go ahead and just give, you know, our 5-song rotation. What's in the Serato this week, man? Kennawayne, dog. Go ahead and take us there, bro.
Man, it was an interesting week. I think everybody's kind of reflected that emotions kind of been up, down. I'm gonna start out with a little TDE pop shit, Reason featuring Schoolboy Q. Both Sides, Gucci Mane featuring Lil Baby. That street shit. Throwback. Do It Well by Division. Antes Why Disputes by Anuel AA Aaron. Bro, I got it wrong. Yo, I was gonna try.
Oh my god.
Anuel A.
Double A. Man, I be fucking this up.
And then last, surprisingly, TD with Lil Yachty, A$AP Rocky, Tyler Creator, and Tierra Whack. I will admit, when I first heard the track, I thought it was Jid. I will admit, I thought it was Jid.
And then I saw who was hop on it like that though.
I thought it was Jid, but yeah, definitely that's what
same cadence and everything.
It wasn't until that second part of the verse that you kind of said, okay, this ain't Jid.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Jid's on this bitch. Wait,
I only knew because I loved Jid.
Yeah, but I was
like yeah, no, for sure. That's a dope list, man. I had. Yeah, y'all know I had to throw a couple of the Gangsta Gibbs in there. I had that God is Perfect. I had Baby Shit. I had I threw that Needed in there. Migos and NBA YoungBoy. I got Black's newest single ATL Freestyle. Dope song. I like Black a lot.
That was real dope.
And yeah, and so it was. I'm looking to see what Black comes out with on this next album, man. And I'm glad y'all heard that. And then I threw a song from just last year in there. I had Benny the Butcher featuring what was it? Black Thought. Crowns
see, that album made you go to the throwback. That Benny the Butcher song I see. That was fire.
Yeah.
Crowns for Kings, yes sir. That's a dope song.
Sick. Okay. Let me go into my list, my rotation right now. speed rotation. I haven't smoked yet, and I really need to do that soon.
I'm about to right after this shit go on.
Bruh, I didn't want to be fucking up like talking about something some deep shit and be like, damn, what was I fucking saying, bro? Because that shit happens to me. But right now I'm really bumping a lot of Bad Bunny. As I said, I'm a huge stan. He came out with 2 albums kind of back to back. And Ignorantes is a song he does with Sech, which is another vocalist, big dude, black dude looking, just kind of with a really pretty voice. Yo, Sech is a really good artist. I recommend you guys give him a listen too. But Ignorantes off of Bad Bunny's new album, great song. The next one I'm gonna go into is a Rolling Stone by my boy Bo Sosa. The album's called Ass Cheeks and Leather Seats. I give that whole thing a listen to. The dude's from the D, from Dallas, and he represents, dog.
Oh, yeah, you got my attention already. With the Ass
Dog,
Cheeks and Leather Seats.
I'm letting,
now that,
bro. And let me tell you, Rolling Stone,
the DFW.
You really get into like this dude's versatility and the way his wordplay is awesome. His cadence is awesome. You feel the Texas in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say it's like progressive Texas rap. I really appreciated the whole album, but Rolling Stone, he had some bars in there. You're like, oh shit, okay, and it's true for the whole album. Vete is another song by Bad Bunny. I really recommend. Some to keep moving. Rascal by RMR. I don't know if have y'all heard that?
I love Rumor. Yes, he dropped another new one this week.
I've never heard of them before. I never heard, but I saw that song. The video looked cool, and then I listened to it, and it's like a country song, but it's really like not country.
He has a dope sound. So if you haven't delved into Rumor, like it's
Rumor.
It's so
you say it's pronounced Rumor.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, okay, I'm glad, because I didn't know.
Last week, Diller, he had Little Baby and Future on that track. This week, he released "I'm Not Over You," which sounded like a love song, but it's more about drug addiction. So like he's on a different.
Yeah.
And Timberland actually produced the one this week, which I knew it was gonna come. So
it was refreshing. When Curtis and I were in college, we went to college in Abilene, Texas, and there's 2 bars there. And you have to listen to country music if you want to go to either one of those bars. So you kind of just get used to listening to that shit. And it was a good marriage of hip hop and rap. I mean, and country. And the last one is by 2K Baby. It's called Facts. I discovered 2K Baby on Twitter, actually, just scrolling, and I saw him freestyle on something, and I was like, damn, this little kid got bars. He itty bitty little dude. I really felt that song. I liked his acapella version before he actually put it in production, but I bumped the production song quite a bit. Those are my 5 songs. Period.
Dope list.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Period.
Good versatility.
So shit, my 5, I got Only the Team with Russian, Lil Mozzie, Lil Tay G, Lil Ass. Another song I got. Let me scroll to it before I pass that up. I got Let Go by D Smoke and Sir.
D Smoke.
I don't know how that's slid on my list. Don't ask me, y'all. It's on my list. Another one I got is Don't Shoot Me. It's by Zoe, Doughboy G, and Starside. And by Zoe, I mean Lonzo Ball, not the Zoe y'all see in the corner of your screen. And then, of course, I got to put at least one Lil Boat song on this hoe. And the one I'm going to choose from that hoe was the Pardon Me featuring Future. Because that nigga wrote that hoe smooth as fuck. And then my last song, I got Stunning For Vegas R&B.
Nice.
Oh.
Well, gentlemen, I think y'all had solid lists, man. Just wrapping up. Of course, we're always going to do our outro. Just, a couple seconds to just kind of get whatever you have, shout outs, whatever you want to, to basically just kind of share your piece there and get it off your chest. So as the guest, man, I feel like it's only appropriate that we let Sphinx go first, man.
Thank you.
The platform's yours, man. Speak your shit.
I appreciate that. First and foremost, Black Lives Matter. And I feel like we can't say that enough, especially when we have an opportunity to say it. Black Lives Matter. If you cannot be part of the movement in the streets, you can still be part of the movement by donating to the cause. There are several different outlets you can contribute to, whether it be helping bail people out of prison or jail that have been arrested protesting out, or there's several different other organizations that help the Black community, contribute to Black businesses. You can be about it in so many different ways. You don't have to be out in the street. So don't feel bad if you can't. The next shout out I want to make, the first shout out I want to make too is Dulce. It's a company that my brother and I started in San Diego. We do edibles. They're Latino inspired edibles. So the whole theme just kind of gives a new take on Mexican candy. With a little bit of extra, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
So hit up Dulce_Inc. on Instagram. We're about to be hitting stores. We've been kind of just going to a lot of different, we've been really trying to find the best way to get into the market. And there's a big monopoly on it, but we finally actually got a good partnership going. So we're about to actually hit in stores. But hit up the Instagram, check them out. The 210 Gs, that's my team from Poetry Rise in San Antonio. We're going to be having some of our tracks get put up, so hopefully I can share that with y'all when it comes out. And the last shout out is going to be to Bo Sosa from Dallas, Texas. He's out in California right now doing the music thing. His album came out, Ass Cheeks and Leather Seats, and I hope you guys listen to it. So one love. Thank y'all for having me on. I really appreciate y'all listening to me and giving me an opportunity to speak my mind. I really, really appreciate it.
Hey man, as always, brother. Thank you for being on, and we'll include that link.
Or INK?
INK, like ink.
We'll put that link in the description as well.
Yeah, we'll put the link.
To the
Oh
Instagram.
no, I'm just typing it right now. Yeah.
We'll make sure to include that, so we'll get that.
No, Dulce Inc. Dulce_Inc. INC. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, there you go.
Cool. We'll make sure to get that from Kennawayne and put that in there. Kennawayne, man, take it away, bro.
Man, outro. I got a lot to say this week. First off, shout out to Landon Marcel. Go to his YouTube. He has a song called Do I Matter. Really, really dope. Just check him out. He's doing a lot of great things. I know he has an album coming out. Man, just kind of reflect on the week. All lives will never matter until Black Lives Matter at this point. People say that all the time. If all lives truly matter, no one would bring up the fact Black Lives Matter. I will tell you, I do have the fairest skin here. I look white, I have blue eyes, and I still deal with issues. So it's not necessarily a skin thing. Now, I will say I am blessed. The other people on this episode have darker skin. So there's some things I probably get away with.
Bro. Just chill out, bro.
No. There's realistically, there's some things I do get away with, you know? But I want y'all to go out there and I want you to educate yourselves. I want you to, hey, if you're going to protest, that's fine. If you're going to riot and use Malcolm X as an example, don't destroy Black businesses. Don't destroy small businesses. Don't just be looting to loot. There's a lot of people out there, you're taking that anger, and I get it. But don't aim it at the wrong things, because then you have a bad perception of what we're really trying to accomplish here. Educate yourselves. And for people smart like the Sphinks, he's going to educate people on how to actually make a change, how to vote, how to get people in there. We're just asking that you don't just say, hey, man, I feel bad for you. I don't need you to feel bad for me. No. We don't want nobody to feel bad. We're just asking that everybody has equal rights.
Yeah.
Everybody just, and also take into account, I don't think all cops are bad. There are African-American cops. A lot of people forget that. But it's become a point where it's normalized to hear that. And so I just want to say in my outro, man, just go out there, educate yourselves. And if you really want to make a change, don't just change a profile picture. Don't just go to one protest and say, I went.
Contributed. Yeah.
Do something further. Because I've seen it with my father. I've seen it with friends. It happens. And my dad, if anybody knows, he's the most clean person. He don't drink, he don't smoke, he don't do none of that. He don't got no jail time. Everybody deals with it. So for the people that want to argue against it, we're not asking for an argument. We're asking for help. And so
accountability.
Lend your hand out and help somebody that may not be the same color as you. Because next time it could be, like we said earlier, it could be the LGBTQA.
It is, yeah.
Community.
It's everybody.
It could be the Hispanic community. It could be the Asian community. We don't know. All we're asking is to help us be on the same playing field as everybody else.
Yes.
And so that's where I'm gonna leave it this week.
Yeah.
I love everybody. 1 Corinthians 16:14. Let everything you be done in love. And it's my favorite verse.
Amen, bro.
Well spoken. Well spoken.
So I'm a backdoor off of what he was saying as far as like the cops. Like there are black cops, and I'm gonna tell y'all this: I experienced the black cops being worse than the white cops. So it's not a race thing. It's something in that system that they're teaching them
an
that needs to be
situation.
corrected. It's not about race. That's what a lot of people don't get. Because I didn't been pulled over by black cops before and being treated with some racism while he's at his buddy or partner there, just because he's trying to prove a point like, y'all can keep me here. I'm going to do my job how y'all want me to do it type shit.
Go.
So I got stories for days on that. I'm not going to get too much into that. Kenneth covered that pretty good. I'm going to go back to my shout-outs. I didn't shout them out last week because they stole all the lighters and I couldn't. But I have a lighter here. So shout out Robert and Andrea Logan. My peeps, that's where I'm staying right now. I'm actually in a white home currently during these times. I don't know, a lot of people didn't know that shit. But yeah, we holding it down.
They're going to be kicking him out after this one.
He's adopted now.
I got him on eggshells around here. Nah. But yeah, we also going to give a shout out to Jack Daniels this week. I ain't had the Henny. I'm going to go get that tomorrow. But yeah. I just want to say, man, if y'all gonna protest, do it for the right reason. Don't just be out there trying to loot and shit. Like, looting something separate. That's just some other different shit y'all on. But if y'all happen to find the bust down rollies, my Snapchat is gonna be in the description. So yeah, go ahead and message that. He does leave it below. Also, you need the that's down below. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Quick wave check.
Wave check.
Wave check.
Wave check.
Wave check.
Nigga said psych.
We're not there yet. I just got to cut. We're not there yet. Give me like 2 days. These bitches going to be spinning, but that's all I got this week for y'all. Just know it's gone. Y'all can see it's officially gone. Everybody thought I was capping. The hair is gone.
It's capping.
Hey,
capping.
yeah. It's
Wave
gone,
capping.
gone.
Waves
Coming
capping.
soon. Waves coming soon. Nah, but man, as always, man, I much love to all the supporters. Black, white, Asian, Latino, anybody who's listening and can kind of resonate with this pod on any level. Always appreciate the support. Just a word, to everybody. Just make sure everything that you do is purposeful. Do it with purpose and something I said earlier, intention. We want to always be mindful of what what we want to happen on the back end, and not just be, so short-sighted. We have to encourage, and I think we have a responsibility within the minority community to educate and, properly instill values of trying to achieve the highest level of education or the highest level of, just achievement in your field that you can. We need more Black and brown lawyers, doctors, engineers, scientists. Those are the ways that you really affect change. It's a dirty game out here, man. These people that are, and not necessarily white people, but these people who are in the power in these institutions, they do their work through legislation. they put their shit into law. And the only way to combat that and to fight that is to get people in the door. So we have to continue to encourage, growth opportunities for people of all races and all backgrounds to want to, seek some of these different opportunities. And hopefully then we can start to see a little bit of the change. Like I said earlier, if you're one of those big companies out there, or you're within a company in a hiring position and you really want to seek that change, look for qualified candidates that's, we don't want unqualified candidates. Don't hire me to be a doctor, but go get somebody who's qualified and who's at the top of their class and you know, let them in the door. And that's how you affect that change and open up those opportunities for people and, you know, generations to come. And then maybe we'll start having, you know, more Black and brown families that say, hey, I'm a third generation lawyer, I'm a third generation doctor, rather than saying, you know, my pops went to jail and I'm going to jail. You know, we want to change that cycle. I think it starts on both sides. Also, whatever side you fall on, let's try to make sure that we're listening with the intention of hearing rather than trying to rebut everything. Because I think that was a major contentious point this week, where a lot of us felt really unheard, because you don't have to agree with me, just like we do on this podcast. I disagree with Kennawayne, he disagrees with me, who disagrees with Kendrick, who disagrees with Sphinx on stuff, but we all listen to each other with the intention of at least trying to understand each other's viewpoint. Hey man, you like that album?
Respect.
I understand it. Yes.
Respect.
I didn't like it. I didn't like the album, but you did. This is why, blah, blah, blah. And we can hear it. And it's all love from there. And I think that's what people have to understand. Don't be defensive, but just try to understand. And maybe we won't agree, but we can leave with a little bit more respect than we came with. Gentlemen, man, it was a pleasure getting into the topics we discussed today. Everybody out there, continue to be safe, you know, and spread the love and positivity, man. We need more of that out here. Until next time, peace.
Drink responsibly.